Hi there, Robin here from Expert On. Today we've got the Alto Professional Live802 on the table. Now we've got some other stuff. We got the Mixiter headphones, and we've got ourselves a Shure microphone, the PGA 58, and we've also broke out the X-Vive U3 to add as a wireless system. Now down at the end we've got the Alesis monitors. That's their 3.5-inch size. So we've got all that on the table. Even have my laptop, and this has got the art list on it, so we can actually listen to it. But today what we're really going to be talking about is this right here. Now the mixer is one of the key elements of everything you've got, but understanding it sometimes is a little hard and tricky at best. So we're going to go over it. We're going to break down some of the features, like why there are different colors on the board, why sliders versus, let's say, knobs, and what are all these inputs going to do for us, and is it right for me? So let's start off with talking about the model. It's an 802. So the 8 it's an 8-channel mixer. Now don't mix that up with the mic inputs, which are right across the top. The 802 has 5 mic inputs. It has 8 line inputs. So we see the 5 coming across. We also have 6 right below number 5. Then we got 7 and 8 that I've got plugged into here. Now that's not all the inputs this unit has. So what are we up to? We're up to 5 on the mic, 8 on the line, and then we've got 2 in the back, which are just basically static fixed lines coming in, and they are right here on track input, so kind of an RCA connection, old school kind of thing. Also, you have USB. So taking 2 channels from the laptop via USB cable into the back here, and then that's located over here. So there you go. So our 8-channel, 5 microphones, 8 lines on the 1/4 inch, plus an extra 2 on the RC in the back, and then yes, another 2 via the USB. So I think that brings us to a total of 12. Yeah, so we're going to go with 12 channels. So amazingly enough, if you look at different model mixers, you're going to see that happen a lot. Now, why is there a 2 at the end? Because it only has 2 line outs. So it's not a 4-bus or 4 sub-channel mixer, so that would give us more options of pairing things off. You're going to find that in bigger mixers. So in the 802, we're going to keep it at 8 channels plus 2 as an output. So what's going on? We've got here a full line. Now it does break it up between red knobs, blue knobs, and green knobs, with this one gray at the bottom. If we start at the bottom, it's the easiest one. It's called pan. Now this allows me to pan the sound from this channel to the left or right, because remember, each channel is a single channel, so in relative words is mono. And we have to make a choice. Do we want it to be left? Do we want it to be right? Do we want it to be something kind of combination in between? That's what's going to happen here. The next 2, the green ones, now these are double purpose knobs. So you've got auxiliary 1 and auxiliary 2. Now these are output channels, and they're also for the effects and the auxiliary input channel. So this happens again on mixers. Sometimes throws people off. You're going to use the mixer for one thing or another. Now if you're going to be setting up monitors on the output, you're not going to be able to really use the built-in effects into this unit, because you're going to control it from here. Same thing with the auxiliary. So you have to make a choice on what that knob is going to do for you. So in this case, if I want to use an auxiliary for, stage monitors, that would end up getting plugged up here on top where it says auxiliary send. And you've got an aux 1 and an aux 2, and they, in brackets, have monitor, and auxiliary has just number 2 next to it. So that's what these knobs are related for here. Now, you get the effects on the green, on number 2, and you get the aux. So that's the auxiliary return channel. So these aux returns here. So if I'm plugging something into it, and I want to feed it into that one channel, I would turn this knob up. So I plug something in. Let's just say we've got a backtrack from something. We want to feed that in specifically to this one channel. We can do that and dial it in, so this way we can hear that one channel playing on that line. That's what's going on there. Now, again, same knobs get repeated for 2 functions. So either we're using them for the aux send, or we're going to use them for an aux return, so a secondary audio source that we want to have on a particular channel. Could be this channel, could repeat down the line, or we want to have it for our effects as built-in digital effects. There's 99 different levels to it. They do break them down. We'll cover that closer to the end of the video. Next section is right up above. It's a 3-band EQ. Now, don't confuse this EQ with this EQ over here. This 3-band is specifically for this channel, so it allows you to adjust the sound of every single person or instrument or group of instruments that you have plugged in on the mixer. So it allows me to fine-tune this particular line versus all the other ones. Now you ask yourself, well, if I've got that, why do I need this over here? So if I'm EQing every individual person or instrument here, I then have to EQ the room because this is a live mixer, so this is something I'm going to perform with. Every room has slightly different acoustics. Your speakers will sound differently in a big room versus a small room, indoor versus outdoor, hot versus cold. The list goes on and on. That allows you to come over here and adjust it back to the way you want it to sound. So that's what this is for. This is going to be your output signal or your recorded signal. It's going to be what's coming out of the system. So that's the EQ up here. Above that, we've got, lucky enough on this mixer, a compressor. Now, a compressor allows for if you have a vocalist that's very loud or you want to give the impression, because when the person sings, they yell, but you don't want that to translate over into the speakers or into your recording. So you use a compressor, and that basically keeps them in check. So the sound is still there. It's all open. It's wide up. But the actual level of the volume is brought down. I like to use a reference of a balloon. If I have a balloon, everybody's an 8-inch balloon, and this person goes and sings really, really loud and overinflates that balloon to 12 inches. Well, this will bring it back into check to 10 to 9, that sort of thing. Reduces that overall sound. So this way, it's still there. The quality, the sound, the impression of the yelling or the speaking very loudly is still there. It's just not blaring over my headphones or over the speakers or over the recording on the computer. That's what's going to happen there. Up on top, you've got a gain control. Now the gain control, again, not to get mixed up with the level control. So gain control is to increase sensitivity. So if we use a microphone as reference, gain would be how strong this mic is. So how far away can I hold this microphone for reference, or how far can it pick up from a distance the signal around it? Now, if we're recording and we're not playing it back through speakers, we can really get this going. If we're going to plan on playing it back through speakers live right away, we have to balance that out. So this is going to increase how much the sensitivity of the microphone is overall. The level is going to be how strong the signal is coming back into the system. So how much of this channel, this microphone, do we want to make it sway all the way to the end? How much do we want to have input to the very end? And that's going to vary depending if singers, you know, the lead singer versus background singers, they're all singing at the same level, but I only want to hear half as much of the background singers as I do the lead singer, because thus they're the lead singer. So I would have them up higher, and then I'd have people in the back up a little bit lower. That's the difference between gain and level. So again, we briefly touched on the level, but that's pretty much what we're talking about. There's bands all the way across, but we'll just focus on this one here. So this is important. I want to achieve on the loudest person at the time to be at unity. There's a little white section on this particular mixer that's between 0, then it goes +5, then it goes -5. I want that to stay there. This allows me to get everybody else relatively adjusted in either below, because this was intentionally supposed to be the loudest thing on the actual mix, and everything else is roughly in that neighborhood. And I'm trying to keep everybody pretty close. Now, we get to the last channel, and the only thing I want equal to this person is, let's say, the backtrack. So the overall music is playing at the same level by choice. Not any particular preference or rule there. It's just a choice thing. So, and that's what's going on there. So that's our level. That's our gain. There is a little hiding button right below the gain, and that is called the low cutoff filter. Now, this particular one is set at 75 hertz, and that's to get rid of the low rumbling sounds that you would have. Ambient noise that we normally would block out, that gets rid of it. That's what's going on right there. So that pretty much covers that line there. And now that's going to repeat for the first two when it comes to the compressors. Take away the compressor after you get to line 2. Now remember, you're not going to have compressors normally on everything unless they strip the machine down a bit. simply for the fact that compressors are an expensive feature to have on a mixer. So when you see them, feel good about it. It's usually why the mixer costs more than an equivalent or an equal to type product. So if you see something that's almost similar, that costs a little less, but has no compressors on it and it costs less, you pretty much know why that costs a little less. There you go. So first two channels have those compressors on it, then we get to the rest of the line. Now the nice part is you do get an EQ across the whole system, so the first 5 mics, including the line mics at the end, all have EQs on them. But again, no more compressors. You wouldn't have a compressor on the line input anyway, so two things change when we get to just line inputs. The first thing is when our gain levels are really just tweaking the line level inputs on it. The number tends to look a little different on the bottom of it. And though this one still says, oh no, they got it, it's right here. So this one here, instead of panning the sound towards the left, towards the right, I'm now balancing the sound. So it's just how we're going to distribute the actual music. Do I want the particular channel to be just the left, not fading or taking that sound and dedicating it onto the left side? We're now pushing it. So we're not taking away, we're just adding all towards one direction. I know it sounds confusing, but that one needs an explanation all on its own. But mic inputs or single channel inputs will have panning options, and stereo or 2-channel inputs will have balancing options. So where do we want to balance that sound to? So we could lean a little to the left or lean it a little to the right, that sort of thing. That's what's going on there. There is one button I didn't talk about, and that's right here. This mixer has mute buttons, so I can easily turn a channel off without affecting any of my settings that I've done down below. So I can easily do that with those options. When we come across the top, we're going to have some more buttons and some more features. So remember, we had that to the actual graphic EQ. And with this one here, we've got great detail to it. Now the important thing is that it also has a point of 0. That would be the point right in the middle where the actual EQ rests. So I'll just put that right in the resting point. So now that's resting at 0. We could also call that unity, and that's fine. So if I have this on or off, it's not going to change the output or the overall sound of what's happening. Now remember, if we're going to start putting, let's say, +5 here, -5 here, +5 here, and then let's say over here I went all the way up to +10. Now, I do have to take reference that I did that because I'm already at unity here and here. So that means the overall sound on this particular frequency, 120 kilohertz, is going to be too much. It's going to overmodulate, it's going to be too loud on the output, and it may distort the overall sound. So I'm either going to have to pull back here if I don't want to touch any of this. If I'm only using 1 or 2 channels, maybe I make a fine-tune adjustment here. Now normally all that really means is I'm going to pull back a little here. So I've gone over by 10. So in the real world, I should really be at -10. I'm probably going to find some happy medium between -5 and -10, so I know that I'm not distorting the sound. That's what's going to go on when we play around with the EQ. So always take reference. You don't always have to add to an EQ. You can minus away from an EQ. So if you want to stay at unity, you can also work it more down. So if you don't want to get into like +10 or like it goes all the way up to +15, maybe I would have minused it. I would have started a little bit lower and then punched up the parts that I need to punch up. Or maybe I just need it closer to unity and just need to pull something down because I'm having a feedback issue. So we'll get back to the feedback issue after we cover all the actual buttons, but we're going to cover that as well and how that EQ can help out. So a couple of extra buttons that we have on here. 2 gray buttons, EQ on, EQ off. So again, we want it on, we want it off, comparison. Maybe it was just something we needed for the room, but then we took it away afterwards. Then we have the option, do we want to have this EQ run to our main output, which are the connections out of the back that are going to go to our main speaker outputs in the back? Or do we want to have it go to the monitor and auxiliary output, which is up here? So I just need it for the stage because I need to adjust the sound on the stage. So that may be another feedback issue that I have, and I need to adjust out of that. Or maybe the lead singer is having a hard time hearing the background singer, so maybe I've EQ'd it a little bit so I can bring them up a little bit and have that more in tune for them to hear. That's something I can do there, and then I can just press that button and have them hear it on stage, nobody else. Now, We've got our actual effects, which covers everything from delay, reverb. There's a whole plethora. There's 99 numbers on this board, and it works in groups of 10, and it allows you to cover all the different types of attributes you may want to fine-tune either your instrument or your singing, or you just want to add to the sounds of the room with that. So there you go. To use it, you just basically choose the number you want based on what you see down below. Press in to enter. That's very important. And make sure you turn up your actual DFX return gain here. So I bring this up to 0. Now it's equal to what's going on there. Each actual unit has, that's what one of the green knobs are going to do, has the ability to adjust the level. So some people may not want it, some people may. So you adjust it and fine tune it according to who needs it on which channel. So I don't need it on music, so I'd have it off. Maybe I just need the effects on the first 2, and I want it a little bit more on some background singers to just add some more, a more dramatic effect, let's say. So that's what's going on there. And now we've got a couple of more buttons and knobs. Now these knobs and buttons are related to each other. So the first one, I'm sorry, I do have to take a look at this. Track, 2-track in. So those 2 RC jacks I was referring to the back, that's going to be here. Allow me to increase and decrease the gain, and choose to either have it as a cue, something you listen to either on your headphones or monitor, or you can have it go out to the mains. Now the next one's for the USB input, and it's rinse and repeat here. We've got main out, or do I want to cue it? So this way, where do I want to listen to it? And then the last one is for headphones. Do I want the headphone option and control room to be from the main or from the cues? So do I listen to things that are being cued, or am I listening to things that are being played out live? So that's what's going on there. Extra knobs at the bottom. So of course we've got all the actual sliders all the way up to channel 7 and 8. Then we've got the digital effects. Here I have it set to 0. Then we have the auxiliary return. So if I did have something coming in on the auxiliary return and I want to control that complete output, I would do that with it, bring that up to 0. And then I have the volume level going out to the monitors, and then I have the main volume going out to the main speakers. On the back of the unit, we have both 1/4 inch and XLR for main outputs. Now, you might have noticed that way up on the top, there is a USB port here. That's strictly for a light option. So it's basically just a 1 amp 5 volt plug. You can get these little $5 USB lights that come up on top. That's what it's for. So don't be distracted by that. If we start covering the actual plugs that we see, all the 1/4 inch plugs across the top, the first one's very easy. It's the one I'm plugged into. It's our headphone jack. On top of that, it's our DFX bypass. That's for a foot pedal. So if I want to be able to quickly turn on and off the actual effects on the unit, I can do that using a foot pedal trigger, which will be plugged into there. Again, we've talked about these ones before. These are the auxiliary sends. So the 1 and 2 monitor, auxiliary send, which are referenced back to the green knobs. Then we have the auxiliary return, which is here, and that again is going to be referenced on the first green knob, and also referenced in overall use mix right down at the auxiliary return. Then on this line, so we've got channel 7 and 8, both of them are inputs, balanced and unbalanced, so that means a reference of a TRS and TR connection. And you can also, if you're rocking a hard place, you have a lot of RCA cables. You can also get 1/4 inch to RCA adapters. In this case, these are going to be unbalanced, and that's fine. If you're doing a lot of short runs and you're just using this equipment at home, don't feel bad you're using that. I'll be honest, in these short little runs and small little hookups, you're not really going to notice a difference in that. You know, if you use TRS, which basically looks like a stereo cable, those would be better. But if you don't have it, or if it just doesn't work in your system, don't worry about it. Don't feel bad about it. There's nothing wrong with that. So the next channels beside that, that's where we're going to find our 5 and 6. And again, they're both 1/4 inch input lines. And then we get through 1 through 5. Here again, this is, sorry, 1 through 4 changes a little bit. 1 through 4, the top ones are our actual line inputs. Underneath that, we have insert jacks. Now, insert jacks allow me to add in a compressor or a limiter or an effects box, something that I need specifically for that line. So here is a perfect example of a representation of a balanced cable to 2 unbalanced. So this looks like a stereo jack. these look like 2 mono jacks. So this allows me to come out of here, out and in. It's going to loop. These would then get plugged into a processor. This would be considered the input, and this would be the output and the return. If by some chance you don't get a signal, reverse the cables, you should be just fine. That allows you to get everything hooked up properly in the system. So those are usually for effects boxes, that sort of thing. Something that has an in and out on it, and it's basically to take this one channel, filter it, do something to it, make it better. There you go. That's what that cable is going to get used for. So there we go. That's pretty much this mixer in a nutshell, and that's a pretty big nutshell because we've covered an awful lot. Ease of use, pretty straightforward. Here I'm using a wireless system going between the two. All I need to do is turn that on. It's that easy. It's now connected to this line right here. And if I chose to play music, I would have 2 options on this system based on the way I hooked it up. One, I hooked it up via the USB cable. So I'll check here and we'll see how that is.
Dancing in the moonlight, the world just stopped and stares. We got no destination. I'll take you anywhere.
And it's that easy. If I want both, if I wanted less of the music, I would turn it down from here. And we're all set on the microphone channel. So I can increase the bass, the highs, the lows. No worries there. That's how that's going to work. Now notice for me to actually adjust the volume, because I went via USB, I have to use this. So I don't have controls down here, just there. So that's how that audio is going to get controlled. Now, I do believe that the built-in USB sound card in here is better than the one in my laptop. That's not in every case. That's my particular case with this particular Acer. If I switch over to my built-in sound card in my computer, now what happens is that audio has gone from being from here, is now plugged in via headphone jack on my laptop all the way up here through these adapters in channel 7 and 8, and they're now represented here. And we have the microphone. Now at the same time, I have the ability to take the music, because I plugged it in there, and adjust the bass and treble and mids right from the actual control unit right here. Now, if you notice at the last second, I did bring the gain down. I did not need it up so high, so I did back it off a bit, and I get to control it from here. And that pretty much covers it. I mean, we can talk a lot more about it, but I think we've covered everything that we could possibly talk about when it comes to the Alto Professional Live802. I'm going to say it's a really good, easy mixer to use. I do like it because it does have compressors. If you're learning how to use a mixer, or you've already had a mixer and you're looking for a better mixer for better options, this is probably a really good way to go. At a reasonable price, you get a lot of features and you got a lot of options to use. Now, yes, it did seem a little confusing when I was dealing with these knobs here being monitor out or being effects and return, but you tend to use it for one or the other. You tend not to use it for both at the same time. If you do think that that's the case, or the cause that you're going to have to get into, you're going to have to buy into something larger like a 16 or 24 channel mixer to separate all those features. I don't mind that they're actually built in and layered on top of each other, because if I'm really going to start using monitors, all that, I'm probably going to be using separate, separate effects boxes for my my audio effects like reverb or anything else like that. So that's not too bothersome there. And the same thing, if I'm going to be using the monitor, I'll probably not use the other option, which, like I said, it's either going to be the auxiliary return here. I'll probably just use the inserts instead of the auxiliary return. So that's everything for here. Well, if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. We're going to try covering those type of questions from now on in a weekly live video where we're going to talk about all the questions and comments that we get and try and help that way. So we'll see you on the next video, and thanks for watching.